And the future is now. And the future is looking at a lot of the technicals in detail. Okay, I wanted to, because not everybody understands how the supports and resistances work, trend lines, different patterns in the market. So I wanted to go over a few as, it has played out over the last 5 days or so of Tesla. So you can see kind of what I see and where I put the supports and resistance and whatnot. This will look like insane to you when you look at it initially, but when we close up view upon it, you'll see how things play out. Okay, so first thing, this is on the 5 minute period over the last, you can see from March 9th over here. I'll put a vertical line up so you guys can kind of see where we're at. Okay, so basically, remember I talked about the dead cat bounce, and I talk about that all the time because we see that all the time. You can see up here on March 9th, we had the bounce with the sell-off. You can see the dead cat bounce on March 10th with the following sell-off. And you can see 11th, though not much of a bounce, but also a sell-off into here and another sell-off here. And then we had our gap down over here. And what happens on the gap down? Tons of buying. That huge green candle. I mean, look at that candle. That's the biggest candle I've seen on Tesla since they were going meteorific. All right. So anyway, so you can see that, but that still sold off. That didn't hold. And then we're looking at, let's see. Oh, and then remember we were talking about yesterday. Today, I wasn't thinking any different. Okay. We got a big dead cat bounce. When I saw the market in Tesla up to around 600, that was my cue. I was like, beautiful. I get to exit this position with very minimal damage. So we cleared 5,000 positive today before the market even opened. And then I didn't have to worry about anything. So anyway, let me get off of this mode for a minute and go zoom in a little bit, okay? So what we do here, and actually I might as well show you, I have to exit the drawing mode on the right, and then let's say I want to click on that item. You can right click on it and then remove it. So that's how you remove things. You want to, right click or left click on things. Now to zoom in, you can do a bunch of different things. You can come down to the bottom and zoom it, or you can scroll in and out. Like I'm going to scroll in on this one, okay, on what happened today exactly. Whoa. And it's kind of hard for me to do it because my mouse is super sensitive on this. Okay, I'm using an iMac and I'm using one of okay, so here, this is decent enough. So you can see, actually, let me put it in a little closer up without overdoing there we go. So now, and this is where I put in the circles, the green circles are buy purchases. So what I do is I go to the oval mark on the right-hand side, and then I select whatever color I want. Green is for buying. I put red for selling. You could use whatever color coding you want. I just do this so I know what I'm seeing instantly. Okay, and then I use pink, hot pink, basically for major actions in the market. You can see on the left where I have this stimulus repo in pink, and you can see how that jammed up like instantly, like $40 a share on Tesla, and then just didn't hold it and sold back off. And you can see where I put the dead cat bounce. Okay, I'm noting these for future reference. Every time something major happens in the market, I'm trying to note it. Or every time I see something that I want to remember, oh, wait, why did that do that? Okay, well, maybe it's because it did this, because it had a dead cat bounce or whatever. Okay, so anyway, we got lucky to get out of 595. It moved all the way up to about 610, and I was like, oh man, did I make a mistake? No, I didn't want to second guess myself. But you can see when it opened, this is usually what happens again. I talked about this in the other video. All of a sudden, the people that were getting in and out of trades, they had a chance. They had like a bailout moment. Hey, I can get out. I wasn't the only one probably stuck in that situation. So they saw 610, said, hey, I bought in at 500. I have a chance to get out at 600. Okay. So, and that drove this massive selling off. Okay. And it sold off in 25 minutes, $50 a share. This is what I talked about in the beginning of the day. You're going to get ridiculous action in the first 5 or 10 minutes. But we actually bought in with the pre-market. Now, I will show you how to do that in a different video as far as that. The only thing I'm going to say about the pre-market is what you have to do is you have to be prepared to take a certain percentage hit pre-market, meaning um, when we bought it, sold at 595, it was at 597. I had to offer 595 as a deal for somebody to get rid of my shares. If I would have offered 597, nobody might have bought it there, and I might not have gotten rid of it, and I might have been stuck in it, and then all of a sudden the market starts and I get hammered and lose like 20 or $30 a share. I mean, a share in the first few minutes. So I didn't want to be greedy for $2 a share. So if you're selling, you have to offer somebody a price that's a certain percentage lower. In this case, it was a couple dollars lower. Or if you're buying, you have to offer them a higher price. If it was, $600 and you wanted to get in, you better be offering 602 or 603 on your limit offer. So you go pre-market, limit, and type in the number that you are willing to pay for that share, and hopefully somebody will buy it. I set in a little alert or an alarm actually on my account, so when a sell or buy goes through, it like gives me a huge alert on it, so I know that that triggered out of there. So I'm not like sitting there, oh yeah, that probably sold off or whatever. It tells me when it's selling it off and everything like that. So anyway, we got lucky. I exited that position, and you can see it came all the way down to about 502, where I have the bear flag in hot pink. Now, the reason I call this a bear flag is because that's what it is. When you have a major sell off and then it pops up into this flag, it runs up and runs up and runs up into the flag and eventually breaks that flag back south. So in my prediction, I can go up on the right hand side and use a segment line. What I do for the segment line is I can make a segment line on wherever saying, oh, I think it's going to go over here or whatever here. I basically am just trying to make an idea of what I think could possibly happen, you know. So, and you can edit those, and when you edit those, you can actually type in, put in a label on it or whatever. This is on the Street Smart Edge platform on Schwab. I like their platform because I can do a lot of different editing. Okay, so and we'll get into the editing stuff in detail, but I'm going to get rid of those. Anyway, I'm just going to remove those. Click on it, try to right click on it, remove it, right click on it, remove it. Okay, so now you see all these red lines and you see green lines and all this stuff. It's like, wait a minute, these can't all be supports, right? Well, what happens is, you can see the support down here, for example. Let me highlight it and edit it, because now this is a heavier support. So I'm going to change the weight of the line, not to maximum, because that would be like the ultimate bottom to me in this company. But I'm going to put a pretty heavy, so it's thicker of a bar. So I know if it breaks that, that's a huge break. Or if it reaches that and it bounces, that's a good time to buy potentially. And you can see where it did that and bounced, and it's been running up. I was honestly about to buy in here, but I didn't want to be trapped in on Friday. For some reason, I didn't want to make a bad play accidentally and be trapped in over the weekend. In my estimation, okay, and this is just a total guess, because I don't know. Maybe they announced something huge over the weekend with the government or stimulus or whatever. I don't know. But in my guess, we're going to get a lot more cases and a lot more bad news. And on Monday, we'll probably gap down. Okay, that's just me guessing on what I've known from the past bear market that I was trading in. So, and this looks like a bear flag. So we got a bear flag going into the weekend. I do not want to be holding Tesla. That's just my personal opinion. Okay, so I didn't want to buy in here. I could have, but honestly, I had to work at the time a little bit too, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to babysit this possible gain to try to make, 5 or 10 or $15 a share or whatever. I didn't really have a whole lot of time to babysit that 100%. So I didn't get involved. And there's nothing wrong if you're don't be greedy. If you're in a situation where you don't know what you want to do, or you don't have time, or you got to go do something, you got to pick somebody up or whatever, make sure you have time. Give yourself a few hours to run a solid trade. Don't basically just bail out and just hope it all worked out for you, and then all of a sudden, all kinds of crazy news comes across the board, and then you get this big sell-off or whatever, or buyback or whatever if you're shorting. So anyway, and I'm watching the ticks right now to see if it comes off the support. Take a look at that support, and we'll highlight this support, and I'll put it a little, I'll give it a little more weight on the line. Okay, now let's see what happened. You can see what happens with the support is, okay, at first this was a resistance. Now I'm going to show you. I'm going to change colors here really quick just to show you what's going on. Here's what I would do. If we were over in this range in the middle towards the bear flag and it hit, you can see it resisted that. The candles resisted that and bounced back down to the trend, and it formed a trend line up, and then it bounced off of that. Okay, now when it goes back into this line, it cleared it, the resistance. That resistance is not a resistance anymore. That resistance becomes the support line. Okay, and then you can see the candle comes down, bam, right on the support, bam, right on the support, and it kicks back off and it starts heading up. The worry is when it breaks those, when it breaks the trend line up and it breaks the support virtually simultaneously, that's when you have a problem. Because now all of a sudden there's no more buying pressure and you're going to see a lot of selling pressure. Traders that see this, that trade like I do, and potentially on a daily basis sometimes, they will sell at that point. They will short at that point when it crosses below that line. Okay? So I hope you guys can see this on. It's better if you watch on a computer or widescreen or whatever. Obviously, it's harder to see this on an actual mobile phone. So if you want to learn a little bit more detail, blow it up on a big smart TV. I have a 65-inch Samsung that I blow up stuff onto when I really want to see details about strategies or learning or whatever like that. So now we can see what's going on, and these are the 5-minute bars. So, and this is how we would put support. So the next point, this resistance that I have, actually, I have to get out of edit mode real quick so I can select the next resistance. Now, this resistance might go all the way back, months ago, potentially. This is a resistance, and what it means is somebody was buying and selling, and there was a point where it bounced up or down off of a actual number. So the reason this resistance is here is because there was buying and selling pressure at that number, meaning there could have been hundreds of people buying or selling at that price to cause that to be basically a support or a resistance. Okay, so but the thinner the line or that I make it, the weaker that is the more likelihood it'll go through. So I make the thicker, bigger lines basically tougher to get through one way or another. But once again, we would not turn this, we would turn this now into resistance. This now support for one time was a support. This also support, actually probably from over here, very minor support, but this was a support too. We're going to edit that back. This is also now a new resistance. Essentially, your floor becomes a ceiling or your ceiling becomes a floor, whatever. Let's say you have a 3-story house, okay? And basically, let me take these off because it highlighted off, and then I'll put this one back on. Actually, we got to get to support line. So I'll grab support, and we want to turn it to, resistance. I always put the support in green, and I put support in red and resistance in green. So there was a support right in about here. Resistance. So that means it could hit off of any of these 3 resistance lines. You can see this resistance is huge. So I can immediately take this and edit it. And I'm going to explain this here, why I'm going to jack this one up as far as thickness. This is a much bigger resistance. Reason being, count how many times it hit the line and did something. Okay, it hit the line over here left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 times. If you don't think 13 times hitting a spot and not going really one way or another, and then boom, it goes through that. When that was a support and it lost that support, what happened? Do you guys see what happened? Do you see all these red bars in a row? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 red bars out of 11. When it broke that huge support, it gave way, you crashed through the ceiling, and now you fell through to the next floor. And the next floor fell through all the way down to $500 a share. And then people are like, wow, Tesla at 500. Remember what I said in one video about that 500 mark of a company is big, $500 a share. That is a huge, huge milestone for any company. Now look, right now you can see this. It's breaking the trend right as we're sitting here talking. This is a bad sign. It broke the support right here. Do you see the support? But it's trying desperately to hold on to the support. Let's edit that. We'll put it on massive so we can focus on it. So you see that support. It is dying to hold this trend and to hold this support. It still could. It still could hold and kick back up. But this is super pressure. You can see bears are probably trying to short this right at this minute to drive it into this. Because if it drives into this, all the other traders that see that will start selling it and shorting it. Okay, this is how the buying and selling pressure works in real time, in 5-minute increments. Watch this red candle downward. It's like struggling. The bulls and the bears are basically playing tug of war right now on this line. So I would be watching this like a hawk. And this is why we're talking about this. Because you see, look, it's trying to hold. It's trying to hold that support. It still can. So this bar and the next bar, indicators, big indicators for where this is going. Is this going to sell off into the last 2 hours? That's what I predict, and here's what I would write on my chart. I'm not saying it's going to happen. This is what I would predict, though. Where are we going? Let's go arrow. Let me get an arrow. Here is what I think could potentially happen. It could potentially bounce down, hit this one, and maybe bounce up, and then break through that support and get all the way down to the 500 support. This is what I would predict based on what I've seen in the past with companies and how these technicals kind of work. Okay, there's a lot of traders out there trading millions and millions of shares of Tesla. They're looking for these moments. People bought in here. They bought in low, and now they made some money, and now they're trying to hang on to it. And so they don't want to sell if it's still going up. So they're waiting for the sell spot, and they're setting their stop losses in here for whatever, 526, maybe 524. They're setting stops in here. So if it tramples down, they get tricked out at 524, and now they don't lose $10 a share in 5 minutes. Okay? This is not looking like it's hanging on to this. But do you see how desperate this is trying to hang on in this little 5-minute span? It's trying, okay? So I hope you see this is why I follow these. This is why I have supports and resistances on lines. They are probably the most important technical analysis tool that you can have. The support, the support and resistance. That's when people buy and sell the most. That's when you'll see the most amount of activity usually. Now, if you take a look at the bottom here, you see the volume on the bottom when it got to 500. All of a sudden, the volume spiked. You had volume selling on the left, followed by volume buying on the right side of that. Huge volume spike. Then it went into this upward kind of normal volume, half the volume during this up bear flag versus twice as much volume essentially in the bottom of that 500 zone. Like, it is seriously desperate trying to hold on to this. I mean, people just do not know what to do right now. Traders are not sure that it's not going to go up another 20 or 30 points. Traders are greedy. They try to maximize every dollar per share. Okay? So they're hanging on to this by a thread, but you will see it if it tricks down below both of the line. And this is why you need to be very accurate with the line. Let me take this off. Now, with this line here, let me see if I can select it. And hang on a minute. I have trouble selecting this and getting. If you try to be as accurate, if I'm off a little bit, I might be way off on this line. You want to be precise. Well, if I just put it here, it looks right, right? It looks like I'm on it. But no, I think you should be like dead accurate with these lines. okay, as close as you can to accurate with your actual trend lines, your supports, your resistances. Be as precise as you can be. A lot of people go on the wicks one way or another. I mean, and some people just go on the bar spot. Like I could move this up to the bar spot, but it literally went down to that spot at one point to the 502 here. Okay, so this is, like I said, holding on. It kind of held. So this isn't, I wouldn't be running out of here right at this moment. But if this trails off in the next 5 minutes or so, so I don't want to drag on too long on the video, but I wanted to give you an idea of what's going on with the supports, the resistances, some basic trend stuff. We talked about a bear flag here. Talked about putting all of your information in circles, your buy spots, sell spots. Document what you do so you can learn from your own mistakes. Be like, wow, I bought here and then it sold off. That was a bad idea. Maybe you shouldn't do it again then. So you've got to learn from these. Well, let me go to the daily. That's the 5 minute. Let me go to the daily because the daily is an entire different animal. We literally were just looking under the microscope at the bacteria. Now we're looking at your hand. Okay? This is basically your hand, and then we're looking at your thumb under a microscope on the 5 minute chart. So you can see here, this chart, you can see where I have the actual trend line down. That's not good. Okay? This is bouncing. Okay, dead cat bounce number 1. Dead cat bounce number 2. Dead cat bounce number 3. Okay, you're going to have all these dead cat bounces on the way down. This is not breaking any trends going up. This already broke the moving average. You can see in red up in the left-hand corner, SMA, which is standard moving average 20-day. And then I have the green one, which is standard moving average 50-day. And then below, way down here, you can see the thick one, and which is the 200-day moving average, which is like deadly when it crosses that. That's just like, but most of the time it doesn't. Most of the time it skips off the 200 because that's a big sign that that's a great time to buy, is right on the skipping 200. It's just kind of like the support lines. So you can see the supports that I have here in the resistances that I have here as well. So you can see where we're at. So right now, as far as the daily chart, and this is 77 days, you can take it out as far as you want. And I highlight here too. So you can see back when we bought Tesla, back in September like 9th or 10th or something, right around 9/11. We bought it 242. And then look where we sold out, up here at 850. So do you think that was a strong play, or do you think, that was complete luck? Like I didn't know anything about what I was doing. I just happened to fall into that one. It just fell into my lap, right? No, not at all. I studied this company inside and out back before, even in August. I was studying this company. I was scrambling to study it as fast as I can to get a hold of what they were doing, what the products are, how fast they're amping up. And we got in at almost a perfect time. I would have loved to get in at 230 or whatever, but it doesn't really matter. And we bought the whole way up. We bought in at all kinds of different levels here. And then we sold out at 850 per share. Basically, I think we made somewhere between 60 and 80,000 on that one. I think it was 80,000. So that was a pretty good score for since September, all the way till March. I guess the end of February. I'm trying to look for the date. February 25th, I think, somewhere in that ballpark. So that was a good score. I played that almost perfectly. I could have probably capped out and up when it spiked up and went exponential. I probably could have got out there and then bought in more shares at 700 and ran this upward mark. Okay, but I didn't. And that was just, that was me, my life getting in the way a little bit. And I didn't have my trail set and I was on the road. So I couldn't, and I saw what was happening and I was like, oh my God, please. I'm like, please, not today. I'm like, not right now. I'm not in front of my computer. Are you kidding me? And then, I mean, it happens. So it's like, life gets in the way. I did the best I could on that one, and it's no big deal because, I knew long term we were good there and it ran all the way back up anyway. We got out at 850 and then we've been trading it. We've been trading the dead cat bounces all the way down. Okay. So now I'm a little afraid of the dead cat bounces because stimulus packages come in and all kinds of other things happen that are out of my control. I have no idea when the times are going to happen. And they're kind of like surprise attacks from the market and from the government and from the Fed. Okay. So anyway, let's go back to the 5 minute because I don't want to be off the 5 minute too long. Let's see what's been going on because you haven't seen what's been going on. Now we're looking under the microscope again. All right. Whoa. Microscope. Huh. What's happening? You see my pink line there? You think this is accidental that this kind of happens? I mean, it might come back, bounce, and hit that actual. I wouldn't be surprised. Let's put a little arrow. I'm not sure when it could happen, but it could bounce up at any point and hit that. Wait a minute. It's not a support anymore. Edit it. This just dropped from a support again to a resistance. Okay? So now this is a resistance spot to where buying is haltered. It's slowed. It could be even stopped at those spots. Okay? So it could bounce up or it just could keep going down the arrows potentially. So I'm going to leave this on. Anyway, I'm going to cut the video at this point. I don't want to overrun and bore you guys to death. But I hope you guys learned a lot from how I chart. This is just Tesla. Any stock that I do, space, whatever, I have to do this for every, that's why you don't want to trade 10 stocks. Please don't do that. Okay. That advice I can give you. Don't trade 10 stocks or you will be punished because you cannot keep track of everything you need to keep track of on 10 stocks at a time. Trading. Okay. Trading 1 to 2, you can switch back and forth from a couple, maybe 3 if you're really experienced. But if you're a beginner, I would track 1 stock only. And if you're an intermediate trader, maybe 2. An advanced trader, I would top out at 2 to 3. Okay, personally. Like I'm going to trade Tesla and space over the next 3 months until we get to a bottom in Tesla. And then we are going to hammer shares at that point. You know, when we get rid of the global issue and we get back to regular business as usual, if we ever get back to that, I want to be poised for the maximum amount of potential, the maximum amount of shares at the lowest price, which means the risk is lower. The lower we buy a share at, the lower the risk is in general. The less downside risk you have. Okay? So, and they say don't predict, don't try to pick a bottom, whatever. The people who say that are the people who are not actively doing anything. They're not actively buying or selling. They're just long-term investors. Okay? You definitely can pick a bottom. It doesn't mean you're going to be right. Okay? Doesn't mean you're going to be wrong. But, you know, and I already told you guys in the last video, watch the last video if you want to know what I think the Tesla one. And that was on dollar cost, DCA, dollar cost averaging. You want to check that one out if you want to kind of see where I think Tesla's bottom is going to be. Go check that video out. And be sure to subscribe and like the channel. That really helps our analytics and everything. And I appreciate it. And comment on anything. Share anything you want with anybody that you know who is a beginner, intermediate, or even potentially an advanced investor. Because I'm sure everybody can learn certain things from this. And we will close with a zoom in on what we were predicting in a way to happen, which if I can ever get to it, my zoom, and take a look at this bar. Now you can see it's starting to get heavier and heavier red selling off pressure because now we don't have a support for a while. 515 is the next support. I don't think traders are going to be doing any. I mean, the majority of the traders would be selling this versus buying this because the next support is all the way down to 515. I'm not saying it can't bounce back. Hell, this could go sideways for all I know. I'm just going on probabilities of something to happen and trying to make judgments on the best probabilities. So anyway, guys, have a good trading day and for the rest of the day, and good luck on Monday as well. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care.